Welcome, welcome to this epic free masterclass, guiding you and giving you the tools and the wisdom and the tricks to be able to brew powerful, potent, delicious ceremonial cacao, whether it be for you personally, for your morning rituals and practices, for your ceremonies to share with your friends and your family, understanding how to work with this sacred medicine, brewing the sacred medicine, how to program the sacred medicine with your most powerful prayers so that you can not only receive the benefits from the aspects that it will give to you in regards to health and well-being, but also you can actually use this sacred medicine as a vessel or as a way of communicating between the worlds, a way of delivering information to every single cell in your body and also communicating with the world around you. And I'm not going to talk too much about it now because you're going to receive that in the masterclass. I just wanted to welcome you, say thank you. I hope you enjoy it. And if you loved it, and if ceremony is something that you want to bring more into your life, whether it be just for yourself or to share with others, and you're interested in understanding and learning about cacao, the medicine of cacao, and what it is to work with ceremony and ritual within lineage, then I invite you to come and join me for my Sacred Chocolate Shamanic Cacao Facilitator training. This is a 3-month program, an apprenticeship, where we dive very, very deeply into how to walk and work between the worlds, working with shamanic principles, with ancient tools and rituals, a lot of wisdom over my last 25 years of walking this path, and working in ceremony as a facilitator of sacred spaces. So you'll love it. It's going to be an amazing journey. In the meantime, enjoy this, and I hope to see you soon. Okay, so welcome everyone. We're here and we're going to learn straight up how to brew the most powerful ceremonial cacao that you could possibly work with. So first up, I would invite you to find yourself a cup that you can use throughout this entire time that we spend together, throughout this entire process. It doesn't have to be a cup like this, a goblet. It can be anything at all. It can be a really humble cup, anything that you just keep for this medicine. So you're not going to use it for anything else. And before we begin with the cup, just as we're going to do with everything else that we're working with here, you'll give the cup a clean by using the smoke of some sort of smudge tool. So I'm going to be using today Palo Santo, which is from the Andes. You can also use sage. You can use your breath. If you don't have any smudge, you can use incense. I just wanted to make a quick note on some of these medicines like Palo Santo. This holy wood, it literally translates to holy wood. This is an endangered tree now in many places throughout South America. So if you are going to buy some Palo Santo, please check your sources and make sure that it's sustainably sourced. Actually, the best Palo Santo comes from the very, very old trees that have fallen over. That's when the oils are really rich, and that's when we actually get the most out of them in terms of using them as a smudge tool. So it doesn't actually make sense to be using a younger piece. So look for something that's sustainably sourced. Okay, so I'm going to start by saying that the most important and the most powerful thing when you are brewing your medicine is actually not the medicine itself. It's your program. It's your prayer. It's how strong and how clear and how guided your intent is that goes into that medicine. There is so much marketing out there on ceremonial grade cacao, and what makes cacao ceremonial grade? Okay, first and foremost, it's what we call Criollo bean cacao. That means that it's a native species, usually of single origin, and it's grown in small quantities. It's not mass produced in huge big farms, right? So the Criollo bean, if you're really wanting to know what true ceremonial grade is, then that's the one that you'll be sourcing. You always want to look for fair trade as well, because remember, that this is medicine and it carries vibration, right? So whatever has happened in the harvesting, in the growing, in the preparation of bringing this medicine to you, this medicine will carry it. However, if you find yourself in a situation where you're not able to get hold of awesome cacao, don't worry about it, because the power of your prayer and the power of your program is going to override any past programs that are in that medicine. So don't stress. I've even had to do it where I've done a ceremony for 800 people and I've had powder, butter and coconut sugar granulated. And I'm making in these huge big pots, and I've got 2 hours before the people are coming through the door, and you just have to figure it out. It's okay, and you will if you trust yourself. So I'm going to give you some ideas of quantities and stuff today. Personally, I never measure it. I go by my feeling. But at the beginning, of course, you probably will want to know roughly how much you want to put in a brew. Generally, somewhere around a couple of big tablespoons of chopped cacao into 1 cup is really going to give you a ceremonial grade experience. It's more than what you would usually drink in a hot chocolate. If you want a lighter experience, like if you're working with it later at night, or if you're just doing it for you as a morning ritual, then perhaps you want to use a bit less than that, half of that. But play with it and learn to just trust your intuition. For me, when I put it into the pot, I can tell by the way the medicine, by the consistency. Often it will get like a spiral in it, and then I know that it either needs a little bit more or a little bit less. So this is your kind of recipe book, but make the recipe your own. All right, so the first thing that I would do is I would begin by clearing the space that I'm in. So here we're going to be using Palo Santo, as I mentioned, and as I said, you can use incense or whatever it might be. And the first thing really that you want to do is to give yourself a wash, give yourself a smudge and a cleanse. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about smudging down the track, but let's just do this now. As the Palo Santo is lighting, all of a sudden here you are bringing in the quality of light through the flame. You're also working with earth, the element of earth, which is the wood that you're working with. You've got the element of fire, which is the flame that you're working with. And then we have breath, which will be either a feather or... So that's the element of air. And then in a lot of traditions, we would actually have this in a shell, which would represent the element of water. But here, our water is the cacao. So you can see how we're combining and bringing in all of the elements. And then the ether is the smoke. The smoke is always carrying our prayers up to the highest for our prayers to be heard. So just using your smudge tool, just running it around yourself. And whenever you're smudging, I want you to, a lot of people when they're smudging, they're like, flicking those energies away. We don't need to flick them away. You're a master. You're going to transform. So you're using the smoke like you're imprinting new frequencies. You're imprinting light into the energetic being, right? If you need to move any heavy energy, like if you feel that there's something maybe around the mind, then use it as though you're using a giant rubber, like an eraser. But imagine that eraser as being light, yeah? So we're transforming the energy. We don't need to be flicking it away. And after you've done yourself, you then just want to offer the smoke. Now, this is now an offering as well as a cleansing. So we're doing a dual action here. We're offering and clearing, offering and cleansing. And you want to do that to the space that you're in. So when you're offering into the space that you're in or cleansing, what you're doing is you're calling on masters of the highest frequency of light, all of the beings of the highest frequency of light, that anything of a lower vibration than the highest frequency must be transformed into the highest frequencies of light. If they're not ready to be transformed into the highest frequencies of light, then they have to leave. It's that simple. That is your program, and that is how powerful and how definite your program needs to be with everything that you do. So we're going to just smudge our cup, and then that becomes your sacred cup that you're going to work with throughout our time together. And then you're going to smudge any of the tools that you're using. So here we've got the cutting board that we're working on. We're going to smudge this is the whisk that we're going to be using. So just anything that you're working with, we're going to clear. Then we'll just give the knife a go 3 times with the smoke. And then we're going to offer some smoke and clear our cacao. And so while you're doing this, you're holding the intention clearly and strongly that whoever's hands have been passed, that this cacao has been passed through, any energy that it's picked up along the way, on its way to you, is now cleared, is now neutralized. So that as you're working with it, you're working with a clean slate, and you can program your most powerful prayers now into this medicine. We're also going to clear our pot that's behind us here. So I'm just going to whiz over here, and that's enough to do that. And I would do this before you put the water into it, and again after you put the water into it, remembering that water is also another very, very strong carrier of energy and of frequency. Okay, so you're clearing all of that. Now you might notice here that I have everybody's medicine bundles and sacred items. I've got my cups. Whenever I'm preparing cacao, medicine of any kind, I always have these items here. Why? Because as we're going to learn a little bit later down the track, you are calling forward the energies and the frequencies of all of these powerful beings. So these guys in here are all going to be working with you to make the most powerful direct medicine possible. Okay, so next we're going to take our cacao. I'm here in Bali as I'm filming this, and this cacao is so beautiful. This one here is it's Balinese jungle cacao. It's fair trade, it's ceremonial grade. The cacao that I often work with, as I mentioned earlier in our first video, is from the mountains of Peru. But I'm here in Bali, so the other beautiful thing is that if you're in land where cacao grows, then work with the medicine of that land. Because guess what? It holds all of the frequencies and all of the support from the land that you're working upon. So we're going to just chop the cacao up. Now, something really practical here. It is going to be much easier for you to cut your cacao at room temperature than it is cut just out of the fridge. Now, this has been in the fridge because we're in Bali and it's super warm here. But you don't need to worry about getting it really fine. You can have it chunky because the water is going to break that down. Now you'll notice that what I'm using here is a paste, right? They call this cacao paste, or you might actually see it referred to as cacao liquor. Smells good, doesn't it? Amazing. It smells amazing. Cacao liquor does not mean there's alcohol in it. That's just a name that they've given it. You know, so if you see cacao liquor, that's what you want. Have a look at what water I've got here. Now, as I mentioned, if you were making a ceremonial grade for yourself, you could really put, if you really want to fly, you could put probably about that much, even a little bit more if it was me. I'd be putting like that into a cup to give it real punch. If you were making it for yourself, just as a hot chocolate in the morning, well, not a hot chocolate, but you know, for your own personal cacao ritual, then you may want to put a little bit less. But just try it, work with it, and see what appeals to you. Over the course of this time together, you're going to be making a lot of cacao and working with a lot of cacao. So by the end of it, a lot of the thinking will come out of it. And what we really want is to get you to a place where you're working completely from your heart, where the mind doesn't really get too involved. I will say though, just to help you, that if you're brewing cacao for a group, for a big group, the way that I do it is I start, like, say for example, I have a group of 20 people. Well, I know that I want to give each person around about 150 to 200 mils of cacao. So I round it up a little bit and work on 200. So if we've got 20 people at 200 mils of cacao, works out to be 4 litres?
400.
Yeah.
400.
Yep. So that's it's 4,000, isn't it?
4,000.
21.
Yeah. So that means that I would need to brew about 4 litres of cacao, right? For 20 people? Is that right?
Yeah, 4 liters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay. We're lucky that we have a brother here that's good at maths. 'Cause, you know.
Numbers.
So what I would do is start with the amount of liquid that you want, put 4 litres roughly into your pot, and then if you've got some left over, you can just invite people for a second cup. You can offer it to Pachamama, or you can take it home with you and enjoy it. You can never have too much, believe me. There won't be much left over at the end of a ceremony, I can promise you that. Okay, so now we have our cacao cut. We're going to place it into our water on the stove. Now this is really important. You don't want to boil the water of the cacao. It needs to be hot, very hot, but not at boiling point, because if you can imagine, we're working with a spirit here, working with the spirit of a medicine, so we want to be a little bit delicate with our maestra, with our medicine. So we're just going to take this over, and remembering that we have blessed the pot, we have blessed and cleared the water, and then we can just add carefully and gently the cacao into the pot. Now, the whole thing with this is to practice mindfulness, actually, just to bring yourself, be really present with the process. You can have some really beautiful music playing, some mantra, or something that really inspires you in the background. And you want to be doing this when you're not in a rush, you know, although many times I've had to brew it under pressure, but that doesn't mean to say that you have to rush. Even if you're under pressure, you can still, as the master Lao Tzu said, hurry slowly with mindfulness. So we're just adding the cacao into the pot.